Think scaling AI is hard? Think again. With Watson X, you can deploy AI across any environment. Above the clouds, helping pilots navigate flights, and on lots of clouds, helping employees automate tasks. On-prem, so designers can access proprietary data, and on the edge, so remote bank tellers can assist customers. Watson X works anywhere, so you can scale AI everywhere. Learn more at ibm.com/WatsonX. IBM. Let's create.
Prime Big Deal Days is coming October 8th and 9th.
Woohoo!
Which can lead to involuntary deal squeals, like the infamous deal on a new massager squeal.
Yeah!
Save big on Prime Big Deal Days, October 8th and 9th.
Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, distribute it everywhere, and even earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit your podcasts right from your phone or your computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify, and when you want to take conversations with your fans to the next level, Q&As and polls are the best way to get them talking. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. Ever since I discovered Spotify for Podcasters, I feel so supported in the creation and distribution of my show. Spotify for Podcasters hosts masterclasses, office hours, and more to help creators develop and fine-tune their skills. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to 80/20. My name's Lily. I'm your host. And today we're going to be talking about my favorite thing, food. And I'm going to give you guys my 4 steps to actually eating healthy and not just giving it up after like a day. Currently parked at my desk, I'm drinking a Suja Mighty Dozen green juice. These are my favorite little juices in a pinch. I've kind of had a little bit of a weird day today, and I was just in my kitchen. We don't really have like my favorite groceries. It's like the end of the week, and we don't really have the stuff that I really, really want, you know? And so I was going through the fridge. I was like, what can I eat? Like, what can I just grab? Like, I just need like a little nibble of something. And I found this green juice in the back. Didn't even know that we had it. And I was like, okay, shook it up. Took one swig. I was like, that was exactly what I was searching for. Sometimes you just need like a big liquid dose of veggies. Grab your favorite beverage, dare I even say, open your fridge and look in the very back for potentially the perfect beverage, or just pour yourself a big glass of water and enjoy this episode. Before we get too far into this episode, I just wanted to preface my 4 steps by saying that eating healthy is an act of self-love, and it's something that we need to do for our bodies. It's something that our bodies crave. It shouldn't be hard, but as a society, we've overcomplicated it and we've made it this thing that almost seems unachievable. And especially the standard American diet consists of a lot of highly processed foods, a lot of convenient foods, fast foods, foods that are made in a lab rather than come from nature, foods that were made in a factory rather than grown from a seed, and ingredients that we can't even pronounce. And that's the normal thing. Like, it's way easier to find quick little packaged snacks than it is to find like some strawberries or an apple. And we're all just somehow okay with that. And it just baffles me, like the low standard that we are okay with when it comes to what we put in our bodies. Like, the bar is literally on the floor. And I'm just on a mission to uncomplicate this process for you guys, because it's not something that should be difficult. It's not something that should be elite. It's not something that should be expensive. It's not something that we should struggle to do. It should be something that is fun to do, that's easy to do, that's simple. Because ultimately, it's just whole real foods that come from the ground, or foods that used to have a face, and eating foods that are ingredients rather than eating a ton of foods with a ton of ingredients. So we're going to kind of get into all of those things today. I'm going to break it down into 4 simple steps of how we can alter our food mindset and begin to fill our plates with what our bodies are truly asking for. Step number 1 is to shift your food mindset. And before we can even begin to fuel our bodies the way that we should, we must be under the impression that food is essential. And not just like food from the Chick-fil-A drive-thru, but like vegetables that actually provide your body with the nutrients that it needs to thrive. Without nutritious foods, how are we supposed to be our best selves physically and mentally? Why wouldn't you want to eat well? Why wouldn't you care about the ingredients that are in your food, in your skincare products, in your cleaning supplies? It's not obsessive to care about what you're putting into your body. It's important. But for some reason, we're under this impression that if someone is careful about the foods that they eat, they're like a health nut or they're obsessed with it. And although there is a very, very fine line, eating disorders are very, very real, and that's not what I'm talking about. That's a completely different subject. I'm not talking about that here. But I'm just talking about the person who turns the bottle of marinara sauce around and checks the ingredients to make sure that there's no added sugar, because there shouldn't be added sugar in marinara sauce. And so when you think critically about what's on your plate, it doesn't make you crazy. It means that you care. And obviously, like I mentioned before, there's a very, very fine line. But I think that when people are all like gung-ho anti-diet culture, it's almost as if they're making excuses for not eating healthy. So it's like, obviously, you need to accept yourself as you are today in order to become the best version of yourself. But at the same time, it's okay to want to change. It's okay to want to do better and have better for yourself and for your body. And so I'm actually going to do a whole episode on like intuitive eating and how the basic principles of intuitive eating have totally been adapted by the internet and not in a good way. And my perspective on it has changed over the past few months, because I used to think one way about it, and then now I'm like, oh, I've got it all. I got it all wrong. And the conversation's changed from what it's meant to be, which is your body intuitively wants to eat well, into like, oh, I intuitively want this bowl of ice cream, so I'm going to eat it. And while eating one bowl of Ben & Jerry's isn't the end of the world, your body intuitively does not want the entire pint. So this intuitive eating approach has taken on a whole new meaning because of social media. And I know I'm probably going to get a lot of backlash for this, but I really don't care, because it's true. It's not that I'm anti-diet culture. I'm not trying to push any type of diet. I just want people to make the best decisions in order to be the best versions of themselves. You instinctively know that whole and real foods are so, so good for you, and we all know it, but for some reason it's like better and cooler to like eat fast food every single day and subscribe to a lifestyle that we were not born to live. The American way of eating is so, so flawed, and I see it every single day. And even our approach to eating is so flawed. And it's like everybody like kind of wants to eat healthy, but then like, oh, like just like one more nibble of cake, like just one little bite, like, oh, I'm being so naughty if I have a piece of cake. And it's just like, wait a minute, you're not being naughty for eating food that you want to eat, but at the same time, like, why wouldn't you want to fuel your body with the best possible options? Why would you want to eat something that you know isn't good for you? So if you're saying that, oh, like you're being naughty for eating the cake, like there's probably something inside of you that knows that it's not the best possible option. My wish is just that everybody feels confident enough in their food choices and in their plate to think about why they would even want to eat a certain thing if it doesn't make their body feel good. And then if something does make you feel good, why not eat more of it? Like, no one's making you eat a salad. If you don't like salad, don't eat salad. But I guarantee you there is a vegetable out there that will make you feel good and it will taste good. At the end of the day, eating whole real foods, foods that come from the ground or foods that have a face, is the way. And that's my step number 2, is whole real foods. And I'm not talking about whole foods like the grocery store. I'm talking about whole, real foods. And you can find these in farmers markets. You can have a garden in your backyard. You can go into any grocery store. Any grocery store has fresh produce for you to get. And the more time you spend in the perimeter of the grocery store, the more likely you are to pick up some of that fresh produce. Some of the maybe even frozen produce is also a great alternative. If you maybe don't want to buy fresh, I buy a lot of frozen fruit for smoothies or frozen veggies if I know I'm not going to cook it right away, but maybe need it for like a dish later in the week. You can buy like some frozen kale. You can buy frozen green beans to frost them later when you're going to use them. And then when you're looking at foods that do come in a package, it's really, really important to flip the bag around and look at the ingredients label. The nutrition label is honestly a little bit tricky to navigate, especially to the untrained eye. And so if you flip over the back of a package, I just recommend that you take a look at the ingredients section. It should be at the bottom of the nutrition label, and just begin to read off the ingredients. And if you recognize the ingredients, that's fantastic. If each ingredient listed is an object that you can think of, that's fantastic. So like on the back of my juice right now, granted, juice that comes in a bottle from the store is not as good as juice that I can make at home, but like I said, in a pinch, this is delicious. It's so yummy. Organic apple juice, organic kale, cucumber, lemon, mint. All those things are items that I could think of and that I could go pick up and buy in the store. But if you flip around the back of the Silk almond milk, it has different gums, different food additives, different preservatives that are really not good, especially if you are dealing with any sort of hormone imbalance. I know for me in my own life, when I started paying close attention to the ingredient list, a lot of my anxiety started to ease up. My skin began to clear when I stopped drinking certain nut milks that had added gums and added preservatives. Like when I stopped putting those in my coffee, my skin cleared up. And I also want to remind you guys that you can make anything at home. Like you don't have to buy nut milk, you can make it. I love making my own almond milk. It's one of my favorite things to do. You just have to soak a cup of almonds overnight in 5 cups of water and then blend it the next morning and strain it. So perfect for your morning coffee. Food mindset is super, super important. So if you're going into this whole thing thinking that, I don't know how I'm going to eat a salad every day. I don't know how I'm possibly going to navigate this whole new healthy eating thing, crowding out is going to be the answer here. This is step number 3. Crowding out is the process of adding more of the good stuff onto your plate rather than taking out the bad stuff. So this is where the magic happens. This is where the transition happens. It's really, really hard to just stop doing one thing and start doing another thing. And so there might be a little period of like a crossover. There might be like a little transitional period. And that's perfectly fine. My shift took months and months and months until I truly composed my plate the way that my body was intuitively asking it to be composed of. So if you're just beginning your journey, crowding out is going to be your best friend. What you're going to want to do is just pick one meal. Maybe it's breakfast, maybe it's lunch, maybe it's dinner. And you're just going to add some veggies to your plate. You're just going to add maybe some chia seeds to your smoothie. You're just going to add some spinach to your smoothie. You're just going to add a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And eventually, over time, it's just going to be a no-brainer to you. And that's how the shift happens. Start small. Start with one meal. Start with one ingredient, adding it into your breakfast, adding it into your lunch, adding it into your dinner, and don't move on until you've gotten breakfast down. If the only thing, say you eat eggs for breakfast every single day, just add a handful of spinach into your omelet or into your scrambled eggs. Simple as that. Spinach doesn't taste like anything, okay? So I don't want to hear, I don't like spinach. It literally does not taste like anything, so leave the excuses at home, okay? And then once you've gotten into the habit of making your breakfast delicious and nutritious and fueling yourself up for a great, beautiful day ahead, that's when you can move on to lunch. We're not taking things off of our plate. We're simply adding things onto our plate, and eventually it's going to become a habit. So tip number 4, and this in my opinion is the most important one because only you know what's best for you. And only you can decide what's working for you and what's not working for you. So when you're going through kind of this trial and error phase, it's important to take note of how these foods make you feel. So try eating a muffin for breakfast and then jot down how you feel. And then the next day, maybe eat some eggs with some spinach and jot down how you feel. Did you have more energy when you ate the eggs? Did you feel a headache coming on when you had the muffin? I can guarantee you there will be a huge difference in your energy level, your productivity, your attention span, your mood, depending on which breakfast you eat. You probably can think of right now which breakfast will probably make you feel better. It would be the eggs, right? And so if something makes you feel good, keep doing it. And then find other things that also make you feel good. And then find even more things that make you feel even better. And then eventually, it's just going to become this snowball effect of doing exactly what your body is demanding that you do for it. If you guys are searching for inspiration on where to start, I actually have a couple free ebooks on my website that can help you come up with a couple recipe ideas. Like I said, breakfast is a great meal to start with. You can actually pre-make a lot of your breakfasts in the evening and then just pop them on the stove or in the microwave the next day. So I will leave my free 7 recipe breakfast cookbook in the show notes for you guys. You can download it completely free, a gift from me to you, and hopefully that will help kickstart your healthy breakfast journey. And then after you've perfected breakfast, you can move on to lunch, and then you can move on to dinner, and it will just be this beautiful endless cycle of eating well, because that's what you are meant to do. Thank you for listening to this episode of 80/20. If you enjoyed it, please let me know by dropping a rate and a review. This helps more people just like you find and listen to the show. Don't forget to follow me, Lily, on Instagram. My username is @LilyRakow, that's LILYRAKOW, and follow the podcast Instagram page as well, which is 8020pod, that's 8020pod on Instagram. New episodes of 80/20 go live every Monday and Thursday, or subscribe to stay up to date with the latest.